Are you 65 or older? Scared that a new law lets your bank freeze your account for 25 days? You don't have to be. Let me prove it. I read the bill on congress.gov and pulled the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority rules behind it. The scare is wrong. Here are the 3 things to know: what the bill actually does, what it does not do, and where it stands right now. Let's go. My name is Eric. I'm going to walk you through each of the 3 things you need to know about this new bill in order, show you the exact federal rule and vote behind each one, and end with a 1-page action plan so you can protect yourself this week. Before I go one sentence further, let me kill the scary headline, because that headline is doing you real harm. You may have seen it phrased something like this: a new bill just passed that lets your bank freeze a senior's account for 25 days. That framing is built to frighten you, and it gets one important thing badly wrong. The bill is not a government seizure. It is not about your checking account, your debit card, your bill pay, or your Social Security deposit. It is an anti-scam shield aimed at one narrow situation, and once you see how narrow it is, the fear drains right out of it. So let me show you exactly what it says. Thing 1 is what the bill actually does. The bill is called the Financial Exploitation Prevention Act of 2025, and on congress.gov, it carries the number House Resolution 2478. Here is the mechanism in plain English. When you own shares in a mutual fund or a similar open-end investment fund, and you or someone acting for you asks to cash out those shares, that cash out is called a redemption. This bill says that if the fund company or its transfer agent reasonably believes that redemption request is tied to the financial exploitation of an older or vulnerable adult, they can pause the payout while they look into it. Not forever. The bill lets them hold the payment for up to 15 business days at first, and then, if they determine exploitation is actually involved, extend that hold by another 10 business days. 15 plus 10. That is where the 25-day number in the headline comes from. It is not one automatic 25-day freeze. It is a short initial pause, and a longer one only if they confirm something is genuinely wrong. This is on the text of House Resolution 2478 at congress.gov, which amends the Investment Company Act of 1940. Now the part most retirees miss. This is not some brand new government power invented out of thin air. It builds directly on rules the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority has had on the books since February of 2018. Under their Rule 2165, a brokerage can already place a temporary hold on a suspicious withdrawal when it has a reasonable belief that a vulnerable adult is being exploited. Under their Rule 4512, firms already ask you to name a trusted contact person. So the bill is extending a protection that has quietly guarded brokerage customers for years and pushing it out to the mutual fund side of the house. Let me show you what that looks like with real numbers and a real situation. This is a composite based on common situations in Federal Trade Commission fraud reports, not a real person. Picture a widow named Dorothy, 74 years old, living on Social Security and a modest fund account she and her late husband built. One afternoon she gets a phone call. The man on the line says he is from the government, that her Social Security number has been linked to a crime, and that the only way to protect her savings is to move it immediately into what he calls a safe account. He keeps her on the phone for an hour. He tells her not to talk to anyone. Frightened, she calls her fund company and asks to redeem $60,000 all at once and wire it out. Now, that phone call script is not rare. The Federal Trade Commission reports that scams, starting with a phone call, produce the highest median loss of any contact method, more than $2,000 per victim, and that older adults reported losing about $2.4 billion to fraud in 2024 alone. Under the kind of authority this bill extends, the fund company sees a sudden, out-of-pattern redemption from a 74-year-old, gets a reasonable belief that something is wrong, and places a short hold. It reaches out to the trusted contact Dorothy named when she opened the account, her daughter. Her daughter calls her, hears about the government man on the phone, and recognizes the scam in about 90 seconds. That hold, those few business days, is the only thing that stood between Dorothy and $60,000 gone forever. That is what this bill is for. Thing 2 is what the bill does not do, and this is the part I need you to write down. It does not touch your everyday money. It is aimed at redemptions of securities, which means cashing out mutual fund shares and similar investment holdings. It is not about your checking account. It is not about your debit card or your bill pay. It is not about your Social Security check landing in your account on the 3rd of the month. It is not a tool for the government to reach in and freeze your money, because the government is not the one placing the hold at all. The fund company or its transfer agent is, and only when they have a reasonable belief that you are being exploited. Read that phrase again, because it is the whole ballgame. Reasonable belief of exploitation. Not a random freeze. Not a freeze because they feel like it. Not a freeze on a normal transaction that looks perfectly ordinary. The hold is temporary. It comes with a process. And the bill requires that during the hold, the money stays put in your account, earning what it would normally earn, not swept away somewhere. And here is a detail the headline writers conveniently skipped. Under the existing framework this bill leans on, when a firm places one of these holds, it has to notify the parties on the account, including you and the trusted contact you named, generally within 2 business days, and tell you why. So you are not left in the dark wondering what happened to your money. You get told, you get a reason, and there is a clock on it. This is on the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority Rule 2165 and Rule 45, 12 pages, and on the text of House Resolution 2478 at congress.gov. Forget everything the scary headline told you for a second. The honest one-sentence version is this. A fund company can briefly pause a suspicious cash out of your investments to stop a thief, and they have to tell you they did it. That is the rule. That is the whole rule. If what I'm showing you is useful, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That's what tells YouTube to push this kind of plain English retirement walkthrough to more retirees who need it, instead of leaving them at the mercy of a fear headline. And if you want the one-page checklist version of this episode, the Trusted Contact Setup Guide, and the Scam Response Steps all on a single sheet you can keep by the phone, the link in the description has it waiting for you. Thing 3 is where the bill stands right now and what it actually means for you and your money. Here's the status, and it matters, because a lot of people online are talking about this as if it is already the law of the land. It is not. The House of Representatives passed House Resolution 2478 on June 25th of 2026 by a vote of 414 to 2. Stop and sit with that number for a moment. 414 to 2. In a Congress where the two parties can barely agree on what day it is, 414 members from both sides looked at this and said yes. That is not a controversial power grab. That is a bipartisan anti-scam measure that almost nobody in Washington was willing to vote against. But passing the House is only the first half of the trip. The bill now heads to the Senate, and as of early July of 2026, it has not been passed by the Senate, and it has not been signed into law. So anyone telling you your bank can already freeze your account under this law is wrong twice over. It is not your bank, and it is not yet law. This is on the House vote record and the bill status page for House Resolution 2478 at congress.gov. Now here is what actually matters for you, and it is the real reason this bill exists. The thing driving lawmakers to move on this is an elder fraud epidemic that has gotten genuinely frightening. The Federal Trade Commission reports that older adults lost about $2.4 billion to fraud in 2024, up from roughly $600 million back in 2020. That is a four-fold jump in 4 years. And because most fraud never gets reported at all, the agency's own wider estimate of what older adults truly lost in a single recent year runs as high as $81.5 billion. Look at your own accounts against that backdrop right now. The lesson is not to be afraid of a protective hold. The lesson is that the thieves are the danger, and the single most useful thing you can do today, no matter what the Senate does, is make sure the people who watch your money already have a trusted contact they can call before your money walks out the door. Here is your one-page action plan. 1. Understand this is pending legislation and not current law. And if you want to watch it yourself, go to congress.gov and search House Resolution 2478 to track exactly where it sits in the Senate. 2. Call your brokerage and your mutual fund company this week and add a trusted contact person to every investment account you own. You can do this today, regardless of what happens to the bill, because the Trusted Contact Rule, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority Rule 4512, is already in force, and only about 40% of investors have actually named one. 3. Get the difference straight in your head and tell your spouse. The hold in this bill targets suspicious investment redemptions, not your checking account, not your debit card, not your Social Security deposit. 4. If you ever suspect elder financial exploitation, report it to the Federal Trade Commission at reportfraud.ftc.gov and contact your local adult protective services. 5. And this one is the rule that would have saved Dorothy. Never act on an urgent, move your money now demand from a phone call or a screen until you have said it out loud to one trusted person first. Same widow, same 74 years old, same $60,000 phone scam. With a trusted contact on file and a short hold, she loses zero. Without them, she loses all $60,000, and it is gone for good. That is the entire difference this makes, and it is why the House voted 414-2. The headline said your bank can freeze your account. The truth is, a fund company can briefly pause a thief and has to tell you it did. Next time, I'm breaking down the 10 common drugs that just got cheaper on Medicare in 2026, and how the new $2,100 cap on your yearly drug costs might already be putting money back in your pocket. Is one of your prescriptions on that list? Tell me the drug in the comments, and I will look for it in the research. I read every single comment, and the most common questions become future videos. I will see you in the next.